Hey, everybody. It's Suzanne and Brenda. Yay!
Yay!
Yay! With the Real HR Show. And we're super happy to be here today. And we have a cool topic for you. And I don't know if Brenda, you want to tell us our topic, or do you want to just tell us a story about our topic? And then we can.
You know what? I'm going to leave this to you because you've got some pretty amazing news to share along with it. So, but it's fun.
What's my amazing news to share along with it?
All right. So what we're talking about today, I'll let her off the hook. I'm usually the one that does this anyway. So what we're talking about today is what's happening in the skies, and look, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Let's just enter it that way. So
this is something that we should, make kindergartners repeat over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Or just because an idea pops into your head doesn't mean it needs to come out of your mouth.
That's right. Especially when you are the captain of an airliner, flying a plane, and you may have found it to be funny. You may have been frustrated where you just have to get what you feel out. But when you're in a professional position like that, let's go, Brandon, over the airways is not an ideal scenario to deal with.
No, and it's not, and this isn't about whichever side of the political aisle that you're on. It's about professionalism at work. And especially if you're an airline pilot, you've got this captive audience. They can't get up and walk out. And they're stuck listening to you. And you need to remember at all times that you're representing the business and not yourself. And while you are free to have whatever political view you want, when you're at work, you need to be representing the business. And
I'm going to throw this in there. Sorry, I didn't mean to step on you there, but I'm going to throw this in there too. And we'll talk about this, but I want to talk about decision-making process and what that means for this particular situation. So I'm footnoting.
Yeah, because there's a couple of different things we can talk about in the decision-making process. One is the decision-making process behind, the pilot's head when he's making the choice to say this. And then the other is the decision-making process of the company and how to handle it.
Why don't you take the company and I'll take the pilot? How's that?
All right. You take the pilot, I'll take the company. So do you want to start with the pilot?
Yeah. So some of you may or may not know this, but I actually am an unmanned pilot. I have my FAA certification. It's another business of mine that I have that grows, and we work with law enforcement officers, EMS, and fire and rescue. And so what we do is we provide tactical training utilizing a cadre of retired Navy SEALs, and it's a lot of fun. It's no pun intended, it's literally gotten off the ground this year. And one of the things that when you are in the pilot seat, either as a remote pilot or as a manned aerial pilot, is your ability to make good decisions. And it's actually required because the FAA is all about safety. Now, shouting out, "Let's go, Brandon," on the airwaves of an aircraft while you're giving, the local, and it's 75 degrees today in Seattle before we land, announcement. You like how I did that?
Yeah, that was very good.
That good? Yeah. So, and you're doing your little sightseeing things like, we're flying over the Golden Gate Bridge. If everybody looks over to the left hand of the plane and like the whole plane tips, right? No, that doesn't happen. I'm kidding. But the thing is that when you are a pilot, there is a lot of the education that comes into making appropriate decisions and operating of the aircraft, whether it's a UAV or if it's an actual manned aircraft. That is a requirement, and that is taught. It's in our exams, and that's not something to fool around with. So, as a leader, and as a I can say this from a pilot's perspective, what I challenge is there's like this sense of propriety that seems to be off now compared to what it was when we grew up. This could be a generational thing. It just could be a lack of educational thing. It could be a lack of, brain cell thing. I don't know. But when you are in the pilot seat, you have to represent what safety is, what good judgment is, just like being in HR, you have to represent. I mean, it's almost like you have to perform above reproach all the time. You can't exercise that. And it would make me question, as a professional in HR, as a pilot, if you're going to do something like that, are you really, you may be a good pilot. You may be one of the best damn pilots in the world, but you know what? That tells me that one day you're going to make a wrong call.
It's an interesting thing, because like you said, maybe it's a generational thing. I mean, back in the old days, flights were really expensive.
I'm not willing to do that.
And people tended to dress up for flights, whereas now you're lucky if people will have socks on. And
I still dress up for flights.
And I do probably more long haul flights than the average listener here. And you betcha I'm not putting on fancy clothes for my long haul flight. I'm wearing my pants with the elastic waistband, man. That's what I'm doing. And I think that we have become more casual. And when you're talking about what's going through the pilots thing, I want to point out some things about Southwest. They have encouraged a culture of casualness. Their flight attendants often wear shorts. They wear polo shirts, which I'm okay with. I'm totally okay with that. I always, when I'm on a flight and the flight attendant's in heels, I'm always like, oh my gosh, this is just wrong. Like, I go to Turkey frequently because I have relatives that live there, and the Istanbul airport is the most fascinating place in the world to people watch, because you have airlines from literally the entire world that come to Istanbul. And some of these uniforms that the flight crews wear, they are just stunning. Especially the Middle Eastern carriers, Emirates and Qatar Airlines, just stunning. And they're all beautiful women. I don't know that they allow male flight attendants, but they are just beautiful and stunning. But Southwest does shorts and polo shirts, which I'm okay with. Okay, I'm okay with that as a dress code because they're on their feet the whole time. But it does give this idea of casualness. And the other thing that Southwest does is that they encourage their flight attendants to be a little bit more humorous. And you may have seen some YouTube videos of, the flight attendant saying, if you haven't been in a car since 1942, this is how you buckle the seatbelt. And again, I'm all in favor of this because humor makes people listen. I mean, how often do you spend time listening to what the flight attendant is saying when they're going through their spiel? And British Airways tried this recently by doing it with a video, not with the flight attendants, but doing a humorous video. But the problem with that is when you're really strict and you have a strict script, everyone knows what the boundaries are. When you get rid of that strict script, strict boundaries, maybe even strict clothing, then the boundaries become a little bit iffy. And so you can get to a point where you might have a pilot think that this is okay because we're encouraged to say funny things and we're encouraged to connect with the customer through humor, and the pilot probably thought it was hilarious. And a lot of people do think it's hilarious. He's not alone in thinking that's hilarious, but it's not 100% of people.
And that's the decision-making piece that I lean on is like, this is people, that this is a political statement. This is a divisive statement. And as a professional who's in charge and command of other people's lives. Now, yeah, I'm a little hard on this right now, and that's fine. But it's not a definitive, thing. It's just like take into consideration that when you have somebody that makes a comment openly that you thought may have was funny on something that is, a real big pain point for everybody in this country right now, that's when good judgment starts to lack. And why even go there,
Exactly. Why even take that step? But like I said, when you foster this culture of, yeah, let's just be a little bit more relaxed and a little bit humorous, I can see how a pilot might have thought it was okay. And so now that we've had this happen, Southwest needs to act. And I actually am very pleased so far with what they're doing, because of course the Twitter mob came down immediately and wanted this guy fired. But one thing you have to remember about Twitter is it's not the real world. And it's far, far, far more liberal than the real world. It's far more male than the real world. And 90% of the tweets are done by 10% of Twitter users. So don't ever fall into the mistake of thinking that Twitter represents what the American people think, because it does not.
No.
But companies often fall to it. But Southwest has said, look, we're going to investigate and we don't comment on individual employees. And really, while we're out for blood, and as a person that, the media, I want to know, right? But as someone who has been an employee and who has employees, I also think that we should do the right thing, which is to keep quiet and handle internal things internally as much as possible. And so they need to do an investigation. And a lot of people say, why do we need to investigate? He said it, let's fire him or suspend him or whatever. But we don't do that when we investigate, because there's always more to the story. And like I said, Southwest has made this culture of being more relaxed, being more interactive, allowing the flight attendants to say things to the passengers that you wouldn't find on Qatar Airlines. And so you need to find out, is he the only pilot that's saying this? Or is he the only one that had an AP reporter on the plane that reported about it? And, that's a question that you've got to find out. You've got to find out, were other political slogans allowed while people were flying? Was this the only political thing? Is everybody else just doing jokes about seatbelts? Or is this something that other pilots have done? Because what you have to do is be consistent. And maybe you do this and find out that, yeah, everybody's spouting their political things and you want that to stop. Well, good, make it stop. But you got to treat everybody the same and not punish the guy for having a reporter on the flight, which is what would happen if it was just a matter of it coming down to that. So you really need to start asking. The other thing is, and people don't like this, but you need to verify that he actually said it.
I was just going to say, just because you have a reporter on a flight doesn't necessarily mean that the context of what was released is accurate.
Right. Right. And
that's the way it goes.
In a lot of HR investigations, you don't have witnesses. You have a conversation between two people and it's this person versus that person. But on a flight, you've got the rest of the flight crew and you've got however many passengers are on the flight. You're going to want to talk to them and find out what went down.
Really. Yeah, in a situation that's more than likely, you're probably only going to be just talking to the crew itself.
Sure.
Because having to investigate 230 some odd people that sit on a flight may not be reasonable. But and you probably aren't gonna get straightforward information. You're probably gonna have some people that are just like, well, I thought it was funny as hell, and other people, well, I was highly offended by it. Now, and you don't want your HR people involved in something like that, but but I think the one thing that we've missed so far is that, sit down and talk to the employee. And it's like, if, here's this is what we understand to have happened, but, ask the question, if you did this, why? What about this? Maybe it was just it's like, what? Since everybody else is doing it in the world, I thought it would be kind of funny too. and it gives you an opportunity to reset expectations.
And to be honest, since I wrote about this yesterday, I've had several people reach out to me saying, I had never heard this before, or I've heard this before, but I didn't know that it was political. I didn't know that it was code for very bad word, the president of the United States. And is it possible that this guy really had no idea what he was saying and the political implications? Before I wrote the article, I would have said no, but since I did, and like people that I know who are educated and up to date on things have come to me and said, oh, I didn't know that before. It's possible that he had heard people saying it. He knows it's chanted at sporting events, and he just thought it would be fun to say. Do I think that's what happened? No. But is it possible? Yes. And like Brenda said, the person doing the investigation needs to sit down with the pilot and ask that question. You know, what were you thinking? And I don't have an answer for what Southwest should do about this guy, because I don't know the answer to all of those questions. If it comes back that nobody else was doing anything political, that even though they've been given the ability to be a little bit more relaxed in their announcements, that politics is off limits, then yeah, maybe a termination is appropriate. Maybe a suspension is appropriate. But if it comes back that everybody's doing it, it's probably not appropriate to punish this one guy.
Right. No, I would agree. It would be inappropriate to punish one person, even though that was the, the trigger to everything. But, look, right now, if you are a TikTok follower, if you watch Reels on Instagram, you're also going to see that people are actually, before they quit Walmart now, they are going on the microphone and blasting their bosses, and they're saying all sorts of nasty stuff. I mean, look, we're all adults. We hear the language. Kids hear the language more now than they ever did before. Okay, fine, right? But again, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And look, there's a lot of contention around what's going on with the White House. I mean, our president has the lowest approval rating of all time right now. He's sitting at 22%. And based off of what media is starting to say, I haven't gone into Gallup and confirmed it myself, but 71% of the public right now are really upset, or 77 or something like that, are very,
I think it was 71%.
71. That's what I thought. They're really, and then I did the math quickly in my head, and that didn't work out either. So I was like, 71. They're really upset what's going on with the mandating of the vaccines. Federal employees. Airlines, listen, most airlines are government contractors. And we've mentioned this a little bit before, that there is no latitude with this mandating the vaccine as it pertains to federal employees and government contractors. And the only, right now, what we're learning is that the only accommodation that the government is willing to accept for those that are government contractors and federal employees is an unpaid leave of absence. Well, that means that your people aren't working. And so, pilots are, majority of them are unionized, as are baggage handlers, as are flight attendants, right? And there's a lot of upset. I mean, pilots have other family members that work in airlines too. And so when all you see are people are losing, then you know what? The rebels and some individuals are going to come out, and you just simply have to be prepared to handle it. But look, I come from that, like I'll say it earlier, it's like I come from that mindset and that level of what kind of decision making process as a pilot are you taking? Are all of a sudden are your passengers going to start losing confidence for those that find it offensive and never fly Southwest again? They'll go to another subcarrier, or they'll even pay more to go fly in another airline where people don't do that. Now, Southwest is a lot of fun. I personally don't fly them because I feel like I'm in a cattle car. I like my process. I like being able to choose my seat. I like flying a different way. And that's fine. But I do enjoy Southwest because they are entertaining. They're hilarious. And, people get jobs at Southwest because they think outside of the dots in the box. But at the very end of it, there's still sometimes you have to keep things as a professional in the industry, you have to keep them in a professional box.
And this is why it is much more difficult when you say to your employees, be creative. Those are good things, and I am a fan of that,
Yeah.
but it makes it much more difficult. And you have to make sure that your training is better when you're allowing people freedom than when you're not, because it doesn't take that much training to be like, here's the script that you can read. You may comment on the weather and the view out the left side window, and that is it. Then, your training is done in 15 minutes. But if you have to have people that are using their own judgment, you need a little bit more training, or a lot more training, so that they understand where those boundaries are. And, neither one of us has been through Southwest's training program, but I would hope that one of the things in their program is politics stay out of it. Especially we're recording this on election day. It is election day today, right? Yes, it is.
So, because that's where I'm going after this.
And hence the freedom hat, I suppose.
Oh, I just liked it because of the sparkles.
Just coincidence. It's nothing having to do with election day.
Yeah, it wasn't planned at all. I didn't even think about that. I'm just like, I'm gonna wear my sparkly hat today.
And it's an off cycle election, and it's an odd year, so nobody's running for federal office. But in some states, the battles are quite heated. There's in Virginia, where Brenda sits,
Yep.
It's a pretty heated battle going on there. And so you may have really strong political opinions, but you can be pretty sure that your customers, half of them, don't share your political opinions.
Right.
And you may even think, oh, well, of course, everybody that I work with agrees with me. No, you may just be the loudmouth. And so they may be keeping quiet because you're such a loudmouth. So, you do want to keep some politics out of there. And there's a difference between discussing politics in the break room and saying something political to your captive audience on an airplane.
Who pays for everybody's payroll, by the way. So yeah, and we're only sharing this from the perspective of thinking about how to prevent problems in the future. We really aren't being very critical of anybody who has an opinion by any stretch of the measure. Have an opinion. Oh my gosh, everybody has one, right? And multiple, but it's what you do with it that matters. And if you want to have a professional team, if you want to have people that your clients look to and respect and will come back time and time again because they're treated well, they feel safe and secure in working with your company, they know they're not getting screwed over, then then you're going to have an expectation of behavior. You're going to have people are going to have to be on the same page, even if they don't necessarily agree with it, right? If they have their opinions, then you have to be very clear on what's acceptable behavior and what's not. And here's the secret: you can never ever address somebody's attitude. And if you don't believe me, try telling a screaming 4-year-old that they have a bad attitude. Guess what happens? It gets worse real quick, right? But if you address the behavior, you reward positive behavior, you manage undesirable behavior. I mean, at the end of the day, performance management, that's what all this is to convert undesirable behavior into desirable behavior. That's it. That's its only purpose. It's not going to ever happen with an attitude. You cannot fix an attitude. Stop trying. Focus on the behavior. And in this case, what we're talking about, let's go, Brandon, is a behavior that you have to determine in your organization, because we're not going to tell you what you should and shouldn't do, but you have to determine whether or not that's acceptable behavior or not. And if it's not, then you have to take the appropriate steps to ensure that it's not going to be repeated.
And I just love your point about behavior. And this is something that drives me nuts when companies spend all of this time and all this money trying to change people's attitudes. I don't care what your personal opinion is. I don't care about what you think. I care about how you act. So you can have whatever political opinion that you want. As my airline pilot, vote for whoever, I don't care. I want you to get me safely from point A to point B. And I don't want to know what your political opinion is. That's it. That's what I want you to do. You know, as an employee, I don't want you to sexually harass anybody. Don't want you to do it. Do I care if you're thinking about sexual harassment? As long as you're getting your work done, I don't care what you're thinking. Just don't do it. Just don't.
You can't control what you think.
Yeah, think whatever you want to think, and just don't do it. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in that we have to be right, and we have to convert all of these people to the right way of thinking, that we forget that it doesn't matter. It matters what they do. So you have to treat everybody with respect, without regards to race, gender, sexual orientation, whatever. I don't care what your personal beliefs are. You are polite to everyone. The rule in this company is you are polite to everyone. You can vote for whoever you want. I have no idea who Brenda's voting for today in the Virginia governor's race. And it doesn't make a difference. We haven't discussed it because this isn't a political show. We could have a political show and we'd be awesome at it. We'd be so awesome. But we don't, because this is an HR show. It doesn't matter to me who she votes for. I like the fact that she's going to go vote. But to be honest, if she said I'm not going to vote, it wouldn't bother me either. That's also a choice. You can make that choice. And to be honest, I didn't vote for today's election because it's an off-term election in Pennsylvania where I'm registered to vote, and I don't know what's going on, and I don't think it's fair for me to vote for somebody that I don't know anything about. But that's another thing. That's my political show. That's Brenda and Suzanne Do Politics coming live. Just kidding, we're not going to do that. But it doesn't, those things, if you're trying to police that, then you get into a whole lot of difficulty, rather than just saying Southwest should have said, we don't do politics. We don't say anything for a politician. We don't say anything against a politician. We don't make announcements about bills, or, you know, one thing that I could see happening is someone talking directly about the vaccine mandate or something like that. We don't do that. You can whine and complain to your coworkers about it all you want, but not in front of passengers, not in front of the customers.
That's right. And you know what? Look, I hate it when I had something in my mind, I'm listening to Suzanne, and then it goes away. You know, Southwest is a lot of fun. I mentioned that earlier. That is Southwest's reputation, is to set aside themselves as being different. And you know, do you know that I'll never forget this article that I read years ago about it was a group of pilots that went in for an interview, and it was very well known that you have to be different. Well, this one guy walks in and he sees all the other pilots sitting around. Everybody's wearing a suit, everybody's wearing a tie, everybody pretty much looks the same. So this guy, you'll love this. This guy goes back out, takes a knife, cuts his pants, his suit dress pants into shorts, and walks back in again. Now imagine this. This is like almost like an AC/DC kind of moment here. So he's got his shirt and tie on. He's got these raggedy now looking like suit pants. Hopefully it wasn't the suit that he just bought. He's got these black mid-calf socks on with dress shoes, and he gets hired. He gets hired, you know. I mean, pilots, they've been known, like another time, and matter of fact, I'll even tell you my Southwest experience, but another time, there was, a delay in getting people on the aircraft. The pilots weren't even, I don't even think the aircraft came in just yet. And so people were getting fussy, and it's like, the reservation agent or the ground agent or the gate agent is on the phone, on the microphone, explaining to people that there's a delay. People are just right. And I fly all the time. It happens, and that's the sound that you hear. And so when the captain goes over, grabs the microphone, starts mooing, and he just moves in because it was so stupid and it was so out of nowhere. And it just changed everybody's, viewpoint. They all just started laughing because it was hilarious. I mean, I was boarding a flight. I was just drop dead exhausted. The only flight that I could get that wasn't going to cost the company an arm and a leg was in fact Southwest. And like I said, I feel like I'm in a cattle car, and I just don't like that. And so I'm standing there, and I'm almost falling asleep standing up, and I've got this like gold scarf around my neck, and I had something, an outfit that went all with it, and so the gate agent was like literally just scanning and like individually calling people to the front just by what they were wearing. And he's like, and if you're wearing black pants, you may board now. He looked at me, he says, and if you're wearing a yellow gold scarf, you are welcome. It's like the only one, and it caught my attention, and I smiled. It woke me up a little bit. I got on the plane, I crashed, but I mean, that's the spice of life. It really is. But, don't make it too saucy.
And that's why I said the training is harder in this situation, because people have to be aware of what the boundaries are when it's not always clear.
Right.
Because if the rule was, you only followed this script, they would never say anybody wearing a gold scarf can board. You've got to teach them the correct principles, and that can be harder. I think that it can be good. As I said, I think that that's great, and Southwest has a great reputation overall. I don't mind the cattle car thing, but I haven't flown Southwest in years and years, but that's just because I live in Europe, so I'm generally flying over the ocean, and Southwest doesn't do the.
I know. I made her fly first class with me this past summer.
She did. She made me fly first class. But lest you think we're just like, the tickets were like $200 for first class. It was ridiculous.
Nothing.
And it was a short flight. It wasn't like, now if it was a long haul first class flight, that would be awesome. But I don't have that kind of money.
Anyway. Well, listen, if you want to learn more about how you can join in the conversation with us, because we have lots of conversations. We got 2 groups that you can join. You want to go ahead and tell them about your group first?
Sure. My group is called Evil HR Lady, and it is on Facebook. You can just Google Evil HR Lady. You do have to answer our very difficult question to get in, and we will not let you in. I have had my personal friends who I've known for years try to get in without answering the question, and I just message them and say, no, you can't come in until you answer the question. So right. I don't care who you are, you have to answer the question. And then you can come in.
My group is also on Facebook. It's the Next Gen Women in Facebook group. We have men in there too. We actually we're running so November 1st, even though we're doing this on the 2nd, November 1st, we just launched a 30-day challenge. There will be a new challenge coming up in December. So if you want to make an impact in your life and not have to like find a resolution for the new year, we're inviting you to come in. You have this look on your face.
Nope. I'm sorry.
It's like you ate a Sour Patch Kid, right? Is that talking about this challenge, and all of a sudden it's just like lemon face.
Sorry, it wasn't anything to do with the challenge. It was that I didn't turn off all of my little thingies, and so I just saw something that I didn't like, but it doesn't have anything to do with HR. So we're good.
When you melt the gas. Anyway. Which I
Apologies.
bust on her
I
all
will
the time
try
for.
to repent of my wicked ways and turn off my WhatsApp before.
Anyway, so you are welcome to come in, join the group. And there's a lot of really great open discussion. We're excited about this challenge. If you're watching this, you've missed the November challenge, at least to get into the contest, but you can still jump in and do the rest of the challenge to make change happen. And so, we talk about things in HR, we exchange resources and ideas and ask questions and all that other good stuff. Both groups are highly interactive. They're awesome. And we're looking forward to so 2020 was the pits, 2021 better to a degree. We're looking for a much better 2022 coming out of this. And so it's not coming to us.
Awesome. 2022 is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Everything about it.
Here. So with that being said, you can find us. We both also have websites too. You can find me at BrendaTheHRLady.com.
And you can find me at evilhrlady.org. And you can find us on LinkedIn, and I'm on Twitter. And I think Brenda is on Twitter, but she doesn't tweet a lot.
I don't tweet. No, I'm on where am I? Facebook.
You're on Instagram.
I'm on Instagram. I'm on just about everything else, and including the new one, which is Free Space.
Ooh, I don't even know about Free Space.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool.
I'm going to check it out. All right. So we will see you next week. And
Yes,
bye.
bye.